this is Vanessa Joy with Shutter Mag, and today I'm going to show you how I look through my photos from a wedding day and choose ones that are consistent with my branding and lighting, like we talked about in this month's article. So this wedding I actually did just shoot 2 days ago. It's in chronological order, and these are only my photos from the day, so not including the second shooters, which I typically don't use the second shooters' photos. So first I want to go through, and I'm using Photo Mechanic. If you're not familiar with this program, it's a great one, go get it. But I'm just going through and looking at the different photos. I love the detail photos. Publishers love the detail photos. Those are really good, and then they go very well with my brand and on my blog and on Instagram. This picture actually really quick, if you just kind of fun little go back. The second picture, this one here, I added a little reflector, and you can just see up top the difference between this one and that one. See how it's darker up here? And see how this one is lighter? It's not as distracting, more consistent throughout. Just a little extra tidbit. Anyway, so I'm going to go through and I'm just going to choose pictures that for the most part match in lighting. You can see a little bit of a color balance shift here. The clouds are going in and out that day, so that'll happen. But for the most part, especially since I'm doing a same day edit, I want to keep them somewhat consistent since they will be next to each other in the photos. Ideally, I'm going to get different parts of the day for same day edit purposes, but for what we're talking about here with color and lighting and branding, I'm just going to go through and select photos that I know will be like cute ones, and that'll be good examples for editing. So let's just grab a couple that I know will turn into black and white here. Just such a cute bride. All right, I'm also keeping in mind, like, okay, I know I'm going to turn some of those into black and white. And then maybe some of the other ones later down the road here, where I have the bride, I'll do some of those in color. Let's scooch down just to grab some of the bride and groom. I'm going to skip through bridal party for the moment, just because we'll have more fun doing the bride and groom. All right, so I do have some here, and I know some of these I'll like in black and white, so I'm just going to pull one of those. But then we went outside later. Again, the light was in and out, and I'm always on manual, so quick little exposures. These are my raws. These are straight out of camera, which really is the best way for you guys to see them. So you can see the entire process here. All right, so that looks pretty good just for now. Maybe I'll grab another black and white one here. And if I want to, I can zoom in and really just make sure they're in focus, but for the most part, I think we're good. So let's just go with those. I'm gonna see what I have here. So I just have 17 photos, and I'm gonna drag them all into Lightroom. See some headshots here. Now, when I drag them all into Lightroom, I am putting on a setting for New Jersey weddings. This has metadata in it, keywords for New Jersey weddings, as well as my copyright. And then I do have a develop setting here, which is import 3. It doesn't do too much. I'll show you exactly what it does so that you have an idea, but it's not doing a ton. I'm just going to go straight to the develop module. I could do some things in the library, but I want to get started on stuff that's a little bit more specific for you. So what that import setting is doing, you'll be able to see over here, it is lowering the clarity by -5. It is bumping up the vibrance by 30 and the saturation down by -5. These are things that I can do to every photo that are going to enhance the way that my brand looks. It's going to look pretty good for the most part over any photos. So, you know, I'm not doing anything different with the highlights and the shadows, exposures, because that's going to be different depending on the photo. Coming down here, I have my luminance specifically for skin tone colors set up. So just +5, +9, +5 on the red, orange, and yellow. And on the saturation side, I usually have it desaturated actually a little bit more than this to help compensate for, well, over tan skin or just people who you know, maybe have a little bit more of a red skin tone. My sharpening settings, I have my masking set to 89, so it's just sharpening edges. The amount is 43, everything else is default. My noise reduction is just a 24. And then I always have remove chromatic aberration and enable profile corrections. All right, so that's just what's happening normal. Then I'm going through here, and I'm always thinking of the overall picture. So while I am going to go through and correct, like bump up the shadows, you know, pull down my highlights a little bit, I do typically have my histogram open so I can see what's going on here too. I'm not going too crazy. I tend to like a lower contrast image just because for me and my brand, it's a little bit more even, but again, that's just me. But then I do like to have the blacks. So this is a typical way that I would photograph this. And I do like a little bit cooler of an image. So I'm gonna go down to 49. So going on to the next photo here, which is just the invitation in about the same spot, but a little bit closer and set up differently. I'm going to hit previous so I can look at what I already did, for the most part apply it, and then make tweaks. So the white balance, like I mentioned, was my biggest problem this day because the white balance was changing as the sun was going in and out of the clouds. So I should have put it on auto white balance, to be honest with you, but I tend to like manual. All right, so now I've got just adjusting my exposure and then going on from there, making sure that one photo matches the other. And again, this one is definitely a white balance thing. So I want to make sure, basically I'm looking at the floorboards here and I want them to match this photo from before. And just by switching back and forth, I can tell this one, you know what, it's a little bit underexposed. Underexposed. I'm just going to bring it up. These pictures are going to not only go next to each other on social media, but they're going to go next to each other in the album. And I want to create a consistency there to make sure they all look good. So this is the way I do it. I'm going to skip over to some black and whites so you can see those. I do have a setting for black and white that I use. It's just a random one I made. You can see what it does over here. It bumps up the contrast a bunch, tones down the black, so I'm getting some nice deep tones in these photos. But at the same time, I'm not losing any of my shadow detail. I'm pulling that up, actually. I'm pulling the whites up. So again, just going through to the other ones that I want to be black and white, and I typically just hit previous. So this one's a little bit darker of a photo, just how I took it, so I'm just going to bump up the exposure. And then going on to this next one here, just hit my black and white preset and turn it into black and white. Now, all three of these pictures will look really great next to each other in the album. Let me jump to one of the bride and groom, and we'll do a couple of things a little bit different just so you can see. So this picture, it's slightly overexposed, but before I adjust my exposure, I tend to adjust the blacks and the highlights, because sometimes when we pull those back, you know, we don't really need to adjust as much of the exposure as we originally thought. I'm going to bring down the highlights a little bit because I am losing a little bit in her dress. Big pet peeve of mine, I don't like losing detail in the dress at all. And then we're going to bump up contrast a little bit. All right, we could use to warm this up just a smidge, but I think what I'll do is I'll leave this here. Now, a fun thing I like to do, I pull up my gradient tool here, and this is something that a lot of photographers don't take enough advantage of. And I do have a setting in here that is called sun flare, but all it is it's bringing down the contrast to -67, bumping up the shadows to +67, and then warming it up by 20. Now I just click and drag where I want it to appear that the sun was coming from. And I can do as little or as much as I want to. So I'm going to make it look like it was just coming from over here. And you can even go sideways if you want to add a little bit more. Just gives a little something extra. Just let me show you kind of the before and after. So there's before and there's after. Just a little bit more of warmth that, again, my photography, my wedding photography has that kind of warmth, that kind of glow, and I want to be able to give that to my clients consistently, even though we were shooting a practically noonday sun here. So, all right. And then any other photos that are similar, let's just say like this one here, I'm just going to click on it and I'm going to hit previous. So that takes all the settings from that photo right before it that was pretty much in the same spot and applies it to this photo, even that gradient there. And that looks great to me. From here, I'll just export everything, and I've got some nice, consistent images that'll look great together and look great on a blog post. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I'm going to export these. and you'll probably see them on my social media by the time you see this video. I will see you next time here with Shutter Mag.